Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Are you all here? Can you hear us? Is everything good on your end? I am happy to be back in the interweb space with Vanessa. How you doing, girl?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Yeah, I am well.
It was
So,
it was kind of lonely last Tuesday when we didn't have a live. I was like, oh, I think after what 12 weeks, it was kind of like, damn, this is strange.
can you believe that we did that for 12 straight weeks? My goodness. Um, it I actually didn't feel the difference. The night of the reunion, I was at dinner with a client who loves you, by the way. She's only watched Ready to Love because of you, and she always texts me like her thoughts of what you did.
Oh,
Yeah, in each episode. So me and her had the first time to like discuss it live. So we did that. And because I was busy, celebrating my son's birthday, I didn't really think anything about it. It wasn't until, it was Dom. Dom was like, what? No match Mary mate this week? I'm like, don't do that. It's over. What you want us to do?
I know it's over.
And so, Dom needs a few minutes. And so we're going to give him that. But if you know anything about me and a way that I teach my clients to be, and you won't do this in every single scenario with the man, but it's like when he is asking something of you or inquiring something about you, depending on the nature, it's like give him a little push, give him a little challenge. So Dom messaged to say, what, no match, Mary mate? I missed it. I shot back and I was like, are you saying you want a little slot on the show? Are you saying you want to grace us with your presence, sir? And, I was being silly because I had not planned to do another live. But in my nature of challenging men who inquire or ask things of me, I went with it. And he was like, sure. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see. Let's see if I can get us on board with that. So Vanessa agreed. Dom agreed. My little challenging of the male spirit worked and landed well. And so we are here before you tonight, waiting on Mr. Dominique, but nonetheless, we are here and before you tonight. Vanessa, what has been new in your world since I've seen you last and since reunion part 2, girl?
I wish I could say something, but not much. Working. I don't know. It's like, you know what, we filmed, and then once filming was done, it just got really quiet. And now it aired. Now that airing's done, it just got really quiet. So I mean, as much as it might not seem like it, it is a transition to like kind of just get back to normalcy and just like slow everything back down. And I don't know, it's good, but it's just like it goes from hectic to calm. And it's still a little bit of a shock, I mean, it's not like all the way died down, but for the most part, it is. So, yeah, just back to being normal and unimportant. I don't know.
You are important. You is kind.
I am smart. I don't have my chat up, but I wish I did. Maybe I will. The last time I tried to pull YouTube up on another device, will I be able to see it?
Yeah, you will. So I'll just give you what some of the chat is saying. Vanessa, you are glowing. I hope Dom has something to do with it.
That is funny.
Can't wait to get into this conversation tonight. We'll let Dom speak for himself. And then more than one person, but I think Kevin has led the charge here, turned it into a weekly show. What do you say, Vanessa?
Woo! The content. How are we going to come up with the content?
Oh, we have so much content. That's why I asked you to just list out all your lessons that you have learned.
I have a lot of lessons
on the show, and you sent me a long list, and I'm like, some of these can even be broken down more. Plus, when people are in the chat, kind of sharing and asking questions, it helps to generate topics as well. So How are you dealing with the extra drama from the show? It's been so unfortunate. I think she means the reunion. It was a lot. Like, it was a lot.
You got to keep in mind this was filmed so long ago. Like even the reunion was filmed months and months and months ago. So it's like it's not the only additional drama is what people are doing currently, like real time in response to something that happened so long ago. So, but it hasn't been terrible. I think I don't know. I'm just in a space of gratitude, or if it's just like it hasn't been so terrible. I mean, it could be better, but I don't know. Some things are just not. It's not bothering me deep down in my soul. So all is well. Let me see. I can see it.
Kevin said, "Tell Dom he making the fellas look bad being late. We normally blame the ladies for being late. I just show you that's not always real. Maybe in Dom's defense, Vanessa and I have been meeting every Tuesday at 8 p.m. since like January, so we're a little bit more used to it. But yes, we are waiting on him. And I love this comment. The crazy thing is that Vanessa was never a part of the drama. Can we memorialize that comment? Because one of the things that I was, now listen, I'm just going to give y'all in a little insider, a little bit, and then Vanessa take it away. I'm like, listen, you can't get on TV.
Acting crazy.
Like acting crazy. You can't get on TV acting crazy now. We keep all them lessons. We're going to keep our decorum and our ladylikeness and our femininity, no matter what's going on. You can make mistakes. You cannot have all the answers, but you need to keep a certain level of decorum and reputation. And so I was happy to see her do that. Vanessa, speak for yourself, honey. I think this might be Dom coming in.
Yeah, I definitely try my best. I try my best. And what was I gonna say? We were talking about staying out of the drama. I forgot. I lost my thought a second ago, but my train of thought rather. Oh, I was gonna say I hope that the people who have been watching the lives somewhat consistently could see everything pieced together by the time the reunion came and everything started to, the bigger picture. I hope that made more sense, coming on these lives and giving context in the meantime.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe tell Dom I can see him trying to get in here, but he doesn't have his. Oh, wait. Maybe he does. There he goes.
Dom.
Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all, but I can't see myself. Can y'all see me?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
We just see your avatar.
Trav L. Girl, I did my hair myself.
I was like, Vanessa is her own hairstylist, if y'all didn't know.
Yeah, I saw this little picture on Instagram. I said, oh, I could do that. We about to get to big Taurus energy, so I'm trying to get my birthday behavior prepped.
Oh Lord, y'all Tauruses, bless y'all. Yes, Kevin, I do know that, and I did hook it up. He can see it now. Thank you so much. They cannot believe you do. I said that before in another live.
So I definitely have a loctician. What's up, Dom?
What it do? How are you?
I'm blessed. How you doing?
I'm good. You look nice.
Thank you. So do you.
Y'all ain't gonna start flirting already. Let's get to the show. Dom, where are you joining us from, love?
I literally just made it home from work, so I'm in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
You're in Atlanta, right?
I'm not in Atlanta right now. I'm in DC, but what a beautiful background.
Oh, thank you.
You got the views.
No,
you got the views and the vibes.
Okay.
Yeah, Dallas look all right.
I love it. There was the guy in the comments before you came on. He was like, tell Dom he making the fellas look bad. It's usually the women who be late. So speak for yourself, sir.
Nah, I'm usually the late one.
Really?
I'm respectfully late, not disrespectfully late. I'm like 5 to 12 minutes late.
You know what? That's exactly what he said. 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So if we get to the 13th minute, it's disrespectful.
Exactly.
Vanessa, is Dom usually late to y'all dates? Is that a thing?
He has been. He has been, but I don't know, honestly, because I don't be on time all the time either. So I'm gonna say it's hard to know when you're also late.
Right.
That's fair. Can you see the comments, Dom? I'm gonna moderate for you, but I didn't know if you can see the comments.
Now, usually the few interviews that I've done, I don't read the comments because I don't want to be distracted.
Okay, no worries. I will moderate for you. They saying they forgive you. You look handsome. All the things that I know you are used to hearing. So
Thank
I
you.
just want to give you a little gasoline to get started.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Is there anything you want to say before we get into it?
Yeah, I guess my intent on coming here. Me and Vanessa, we talked last week, and I feel like it'd be a good idea for us to kind of provide some background of how we got from point A to point B and C or whatever. But I didn't really intend on talking too much about beyond where we were after the reunion. So I think after the reunion, I think you go from being a semi-public figure to back to being a private figure. So so yeah, I'm just kind of letting people know that up front, and but that's it.
So Don wants y'all to respect his privacy. He's saying when he was on the show, he was a public figure, but now that that's over, put some respect on his privacy. So I'm going to do my best to moderate the comments and ask questions that I think you would want to answer. I have two myself.
Yeah.
I think one fits what you just said. The other one, I don't know. So I'm gonna sit with myself to not offend you with my question. But let's start by having you two describe your connection on the show. Whoever wants to go first, and just describe that to us. So many people have asked, what was your real connection like on the show? Because of course they're not seeing all the scenes. Vanessa was asking to take certain dates with her connections, and that wasn't always happening. But Vanessa has also kind of like confessed to being a little bit of a rebel. Like she knew the rules when it made sense. And so clearly it made sense to be dating off camera at some point. So let us know, what was the connection like?
You want to start?
Okay. I feel okay, yeah. So obviously Dominique was in a second group, or I don't know how we met at the brunch though. And so Dominique, when he comes in, he sits beside me at this table, and I liked it because as soon as time was like break, Dominique said, I got like 100 questions for you already. And I was like, he interested. So we went to the bar, we stopped at the bar, and then Dominique and I had a conversation. I'm not the best storyteller. I'm just say that now. But we had a good conversation, and we found that we had a lot of things in common. And I don't know. It took me about that long to be like, yeah, I like Dominique. That one conversation was enough. But yeah, that was our initial meet. That probably wasn't good. Maybe I should just add to whatever you got to say, Dominique.
Well, Dominique, do you remember that conversation?
I do. And I remember like when I walked into the brunch, you kind of had to survey everybody really quickly. And I see her and Lonzo sitting to my right, and I kind of initially was attracted to her. So I walked over there, spoke to her. And then once we got a chance to split up, me and her walked outside. We stopped by the bar for a second. Then we went outside, and I could tell, did you have your nose ring in?
Probably so.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, I could tell she had like a little bit of like a hipster spirit. And I would say the same with myself. I also had one of the things that stuck out to me outside of this her being very attractive is that I told her that I lived in Mexico for a little while, and she told me she had just visited the town that I lived in, and I feel like she showed me a picture right in front of the condo that I used to live in, like on the beach. And then I'm kind of weird about coincidences. I really don't believe in them, and so like for me, for some reason, I took that as a sign, and so I took that as a sign of something. I didn't know what it'd be a sign of, but so yeah, so just after after talking to her, I remember her just saying like, she was like, normally I don't be wearing shit like this, she was dressed really nice, and then I remember her getting up and walking in the room, and I remember she had, excuse my language, she had ass. I'm like, damn, you got ass too, man, you pretty, and I was like, okay, it says I remember, the quote unquote group chat. It's so funny because like I go back and read the group chat that a lot of the fellas talked about during the season, and I see this how we all raved about Vanessa, including myself, just about I remember like I was talking about how beautiful Vanessa was after first meeting her, and so one of the other guys was like, yeah, you about to be a stepdad, and I was like, yeah, we taking the kids to Greece in a couple of months, you know what I'm saying? So I would just we were just playing around or whatnot, and but yeah, she piqued my interest pretty much off the rip. So they didn't necessarily show that, and I have my reasons as to why they didn't show that initial conversation, but yeah.
What was there any source of attraction other than her physical beauty?
It was energy, and I could tell she was on the same type of time I'm on. Like for me, like someone who travels, for one, that speaks volumes to me, because it's like you're used to. I think if you travel out to different countries and different cultures, sometimes you have to be open-minded. And being open-minded kind of translates into a lot of other things. So being open-minded and just, like I'm into, it wasn't just like all the women had different kinds of beauty, but just from her energy and just, and she's natural, so yeah, I felt it. I felt it off the rip, so even when she said I normally wouldn't have no shit on like this, I was like, me either. Like I was like it just felt like we was on the same type of time just from the initial conversation.
Oh, I love that, Dom. Thanks for sharing. Vanessa, you want to add? Well, you clearly had to be attracted to him, so give us the juice too. What were you
yeah. I was, and I'm like, okay, I see you. And then wasn't there something like a butterfly had flew over? It was a lot. So I agree with him about the like synchronicities are like really important to me. Like all of that, I think God might know how I struggle with self-doubt and how I go back and forth. So when things are just like beyond a shadow of a doubt, like this is like, okay, I'm not going to question this. That has to be a sign. I love when those things happen, but yeah, it was just genuine. It was a very like kindred feel from the very beginning. And so the things that we had in common, the traveling, the curiosity, I think Dom is very purpose driven. And I am too. Like I don't know that we got into all of that in that conversation, but it was like somebody familiar, even though we had just met. And I really like that about him because that comfortability came like immediately. And he's a Taurus too, so I'm like, I like that.
Oh Lord, it's 2 bulls in the group.
2 bulls, yeah.
How close to y'all birthdays?
Shit.
He's a May Taurus.
Yeah, so we're about 3 weeks apart. Ironically, I don't think it's we haven't really did this, at really any stages, and maybe we would have, but Vanessa goes through our processing phase, so maybe it would have been this if she in process, but for the most part, we ain't never really just clash.
Y'all have some questions in the chat. So Dom, if you're comfortable sharing, they would like to hear some of your reasons as to why they didn't show, I guess, that first conversation or other parts of the relationship, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a few reasons. For one, I missed a decent amount of time while filming on the show. I had family issues that I had to attain to, so that required for me to miss an episode or two. And so then I left again towards the end. So I think they get all of their footage. Then they come up, they build a storyline as the show is going on. But at the end of the show, they go back and try to put the whole story together with all the footage. And I feel like throughout that process, it was me being absent in real life. And I felt like the best way for them to make sure that my elimination made sense was to kind of cut me out of certain scenes, you know, because I think if they would have showed me connecting with her, you know, as much as we did, or connecting with maybe one or two of the other ladies, it would have been a little more difficult to justify my absence. For two, I think, I mean, this show is about entertainment. And I don't, you know, in real life, I feel like people enjoy my company, but like on the show, I don't have a TV personality. You know, like I don't spend too much money in therapy. You know what I'm saying, at this point, to be entertaining on TV. You know what I'm saying? I know my triggers, you know, so that doesn't mean that like people may not say things that would trigger me, but I don't project as much as I used to. And that makes for bad TV. So I don't necessarily think I was good entertainment for the show, you know, because I'm calling people king and queen. And I would brag on certain people in the lounges, and they never showed that. They kind of, to some extent, they genuinely feel like the audience wants some type of, you know, and people do. People say they don't want it, but when it happens, they like it on Instagram, they share it, and they subscribe. So the formula of the show is basing it off what's going to get attention, and bullshit does.
Right. I mean, Vanessa and I spoke about that so much when we were doing the recap. I was a bit, well, I wasn't surprised, but I was vocal about the number of women who essentially were trashing her. Like they had all of these narratives, all of these stories, and I'm like, similar to what you're saying, people will say no drama. They will say, I don't want this, but then it's quite literally what they feed themselves and what they perpetuate in social media circles. But for this base in the comments, you know, women, oh, sisterhood, oh, this. They are praising Vanessa for having a level of class, a level of womanliness, a level of, but then at the same time, get in the comments and say some of the most despicable things. And so it's like, how do you make sense of that? Like you can't, you just have to choose to be yourself. Right. And so you're like, who I choose to be and the money that I've paid to become this man in therapy, y'all ain't gonna get me off kilter.
No, I was careful about that. I was careful. And you know, for me, just not to get too deep off into myself, accountability and self-awareness came way before therapy. Therapy was just like the icing on the cake, but it did kind of finalize me and bring me to a point to where like shit, it's a little harder to knock me off my rocker, you know. So like it made me, you know, self-awareness made me a little bit like less defensive. So like I can get offended by something, and what would have resulted in an ass whipping 10 years ago, it's a conversation now.
Who you beating, dog? Who you beat?
Man, I used to fight a lot. You know, I grew up doing a lot of fighting. I fought so much to the point to where I wasn't even mad when I was fighting. I was fighting with a straight face. You know, I remember beating this little dude up. I beat him up and bit him in the eye, like bit him right there between his eyes. And his mama, we lived in the projects. His mama walked to my house, and next thing you know, my mama, his mama almost got to fight. You know.
So Lord, Dom, I know you had a little Mike Tyson in you.
As a kid, but like once people started shooting and started ganging each other, that's when I became started using my mind.
I love to hear the evolution.
Yeah.
So some of the comments in the chat, they're saying it was serendipitous. So Vanessa, Dom, would y'all describe your initial connection like that? Was it serendipitous?
That's beyond my vocabulary. What that mean right there? That's a movie. The
movie. I like that you know that.
I wonder if I've seen that movie. I have definitely heard of it.
Yeah. What's serendipitous mean, Vanessa?
Like this, just like fateful moment of spark. This moment of magic where like the two things align and all the fuzzies.
Well, I told you I have Kismet up on my vision board. But I think at some point, Dom and I talked about, I think he expressed that he feels like we would have met anyway. But I will say that I would do this process again just to have the opportunity to meet Dominique. Like, I think that was a solid takeaway from me meeting Dominique. So, and then to speak to like the drama part of it, I had read some comments like when the show was airing, and somebody was like, Vanessa has the personality of a lawn chair. I'm like, that's sad. But I want, on top of not wanting to get into the drama, I don't think I was engaging in the drama, and I also don't think I was bringing all the personalities. So it was just like, I mean, between the two of us, it probably was.
Yeah.
Somebody said a snooze fest. I don't think it is though. And in real life, we really have a good time.
But also in real life, people really appreciate boring. Like nobody wants a chaotic roller coaster all over the place relationship in real life.
Yeah.
It's protecting your peace both ways. Like both ways. Like not going too far. You just kind of maintain it. And I like that. And that's what I try to tend to do.
Yeah. I think we both kept in mind that we were going to be on TV and certain people were going to have access to watching this. So it put us both, I think, in protection mode probably a little more than what we would be in an intimate setting, after a while. So for me, I kept in mind that my mom was going to be watching. I kept in mind, like, even if I didn't find a woman on the show, that maybe my next wife going to be watching the show. So I factored in all that. So like for me, that didn't lead to me fronting, but it did lead to me making sure that I showed up as like this my genuine self and stayed out of try my best to stay out of certain stuff.
How did your mother like your appearance on the show?
You know, she was worried at first because my mother still hasn't forgotten my foundation. And so like she still bring up old stuff that I was into and old stuff that I've done. And she hasn't necessarily forgotten it. So she hasn't fully morphed into who I've become as far as just being more peaceful and all of that. You know, my mom came. She was in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and me and Vanessa, we both love plants. You know, so that's something we connected on later. And my mom she was just telling me that she could tell that I talk about grace a lot more than what I used to, and I talk about patience. And she was like, she told me that me having plants has kind of contributed to that. You know, it's helped contribute to me being a more patient and more graceful person. You know, so she was worried at first because if she wouldn't have been surprised if I would have went on there and acted fool, you know, but just based upon just more so my childhood and just a few things I did in my 20s. But now she was pleased with it for the most part.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Vanessa, did you get any parental or friendship advice? How did they like you on the show?
Yeah, my mom did. Throughout the season, just a few times, like she would be like, "Oh, such and such," or "Your uncle said this," or what. Not really coming directly from her, but after it was all done, she did say that she's had some kind words for how I showed up, and I'm like, "Oh," and then she was like, "You're so beautiful," and I'm like, "Oh, mama," that touched me.
Like, you are so beautiful.
The grown women love Vanessa. You know, especially the grown women that aren't a part of the YouTube community, because the YouTube community, it's been more dramatic than what the show actually was. And so like the people who just only got to see Vanessa on television without knowing that what a picture of her uncle from middle school or whatever, you know, they appreciate her a little more. Even when I'm at work, the second episode came on, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking into work, and I get 3 old ladies walk up on me. You know, I hope they ain't watching. But it was like, I hope you chose Vanessa. Did you choose Vanessa? I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like she made an impression on a lot of the grown women who want to see more of young women, and I think that was part of her goal.
Dom, I want to love on you just a little bit, but before I do, I want to love on Vanessa real quick with what you just said there, and that is the grown women really love. That blesses me because one of the things, I don't know how much Vanessa has shared with you about the work that she and I do, but a large part of it is becoming that actualized, becoming that realized woman. And you know, we usually put that to the test with some outings, not public TV. So we were both like, oh Lord, we both got to be ready for this. But one of those signs of like that seasoning of womanhood, that maturation, is like, what do the elder women say about you?
Y'all talked about this?
Oh yeah, that's part of my coaching.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so like that's one of our signs. It's like you could just be about your day, but you know, it could be an older neighbor, a co-worker, sometimes a stranger, but you know, the closer you start getting into home, your aunties, your mama, you know you're doing something. Even with you when you were like, well, my mom remembers this childhood, but also trying to make space for this new man that you become. And it's harder to do with those people, right? Because they remember how you were before you did any coaching, any therapy, any adulting, for real. And so that blessed me, like just as a coach who helps lead and guide women. Because my first thing is like, y'all, we're not doing this for no man.
Right.
Like, if you want to be in a relationship, you got to get to know yourself. You got to understand your identity as a woman, what it means to be a woman, the kind of woman you want to be. All of that's first. And so to hear you say that blessed me so much. I really appreciate that. But Vanessa, all that love belongs to you because you showed up that way and got that praise. And that's what I'm talking about, girl.
Yeah. It's so funny you said that because, you know, like, I feel like a lot of the work, I didn't feel like Vanessa was, I feel like she was ready for sure. But like, I didn't feel like the work that y'all done had necessarily, I think it was more about the inner work first. And I think how she showed up on the show was a result of inner work. And then I think we do the inner work, then, you know, we see where we are with it. Then we work on, you know, you find out what you want and need for yourself. Then you worry about what other people need from you. And I felt like this show and the work y'all have done and the show was in preparation, in conjunction together.
Yeah, I love that. All right, now let me love on you for a second. You have this inclination, like even after we're talking about this conversation and I'm mentioning things in the chat and kind of adding in my own thoughts, you have this inclination to like dote on Vanessa.
To do what? I'm sorry.
To dote on Vanessa. You follow me?
Nah, y'all got that. I'm from the South. I ain't got that type of vocabulary. I thought you said
where you from?
I'm dope, yeah. What dope?
He's a dope.
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And to elaborate on that, when I graduated high school, I probably read and wrote at probably 6th, 7th grade level. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, certain words like dope, I'm still catching up on.
You have this way of being fond of her verbally. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm curious because while I do believe that some of that is by a way that a woman shows up, right? You show up a certain way, people are going to have a certain perception of you and be able to report on it. But I already know why that's the case. But sometimes, and some of it is that woman has inspired or influenced that man unto such praise, or that it's just naturally in him when he, you know, likes the woman, loves the woman, is seeing a woman, etc. I would love to understand more from you, like the source of that, because it's quite attractive and you do it almost effortlessly. And you do it every time. It's like I ask a question or she, you know, responds and you like, well, you know, Vanessa. And then it's like just this praise or this positiveness for her regard. What's inspiring that?
Well, I think specifically we're talking about just, we're going back in time and talking about how we felt in that particular moment. So I'm more so referring to that. In reality, I don't really think I don't give enough words of affirmation in real life. But since we're talking about specific situations, like I'm not a person, for instance, a lot of people on the show, they can go back and look at their experience on the show and be like, I hated everybody. You know, the guys were ugly, the guys were broke, the women were classless. It's easy to say things like that in hindsight. But for me, for some reason, I can remember how I felt in the moment, and I can go back and reflect to like, okay, this is how I felt, you know, in that particular moment, you know, and I didn't forget that. So it's easy for me to go back and speak about my first impressions of her, own up into the impressions that she make on me now. So words of affirmation, that's something I probably need to work on because I'm very careful with my words because I know that like words can lead to expectations. And although I'm all for expectations, but I'm more careful about making sure the expectations meet where my heart and my mind is before, you know what I'm saying? So I'm very careful with that.
Sure. Okay, my next question. Did you two think that leaving the show was going to be the end of your connection? So, Dom, I'm gonna start with you since you were the person who actually left the show. But then, Vanessa, I want to hear from you too. Like his departure, did it make you think that? Go ahead, Dom.
For me, I didn't. When I left the show, and I didn't say left. I got put off. When I got put off, you know what I'm saying. When they put me off the show, uh, I I really was just glad to make it out of the show without playing myself. I was more focused on like, okay, woo, I'm glad I didn't. I felt like I didn't give them anything that could be interpreted as like a bad person. So I was just glad to make it out alive, and I say that figuratively. But like the connection part, like we had a connection, but like I also knew she had a stronger connection with another gentleman, and for me, like I was totally okay with that, you know, to the extent to where I didn't think they were going to work out, but I also knew that she liked him more than she liked me. You know what I'm saying? I haven't forgot that, you know. So
How did you know that?
well, shit. So I guess we skipping some parts, but when we got to the brunch, I remember, and I done told her this shit too. I
The
remember
pajama party.
the pajama party, yeah. The pajama. I remember me and her was talking, and I remember just how she responded to Chaz when Chaz walked up and shit. So at that point, I was like, okay, we still have a connection, but like, I was like, okay, I didn't concede, but I will say that like, I just have extreme confidence in regards to what God has for me, and I don't like getting in the way of what God may have for somebody else. So I'm a assist person. I'm like, look, y'all go ahead and do y'all thing. But you know, we still liked each other, and so we still kept in contact. But I knew that she liked him more than she liked me. And to be completely honest, I didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like it. So when I did get eliminated, I told her that like, hey, I know you got other connections. Just go through the process. And you know, I don't remember what I said verbatim. She may remember, but I was just like, hey, do your thing. We'll catch up later. And the only time I really reached out to her because I think people are thinking that me and her were just doing stuff behind Chaz's back, and that wasn't the case. I think she invested what she had to invest in the connection that she had with him because she really liked him. And so like I didn't really bother her the last couple of weeks when she was on the show. I let her know, hey, do your thing. We'll catch back up, you know. And I think that I checked in on her. Um, I think some stuff when Chaz had kind of walked out of the house or whatever. One of the psychiatrists that hit me up thinking I was Chaz. So they sent me a text thinking I'm Chaz and was like, hey man, we're just checking in with you, Chaz, trying to make sure you're okay. And I don't know if they accidentally sent me a text. And so at that point, I'm thinking like, why the hell is the psychiatrist reaching out? You know, so I immediately reached out because at that point, Vanessa was probably the only person who I really cared about. You know, which I had love and respect for everybody, but with Vanessa, like I'm rocking with Vanessa. So I just checked in on her, and I could tell she was happy to hear from me, even though it had only been 2-3 days. You know what I'm saying? So then, and that was it, and then we reconnected after shooting. I don't know if I answered your question though.
You did answer my question. You also gave me another one.
Yeah.
But I want Vanessa to chime in, and then I'm gonna come back to you.
Oh,
Vanessa, you answer the question on your end.
no, actually, it didn't occur to me that was going to be the end of our connection because I didn't want Dom to go. I didn't expect Dom was going to go. I wasn't told Dom was leaving. So it was a surprise to me. And I'm like, well, shit. Well, I mean, I don't know. It didn't mean that to me. That didn't cross my mind because one, this is real. This is my real life. So in the same way that in the process, when it wasn't going the way that I needed it to go to cater to my own love life, and I did what I needed to do, I knew that I had that ability to do that inside or outside the process. So it didn't mean much to me. I mean, I understood they had to take someone away, but it wasn't what I expected to happen. So you just got to pivot.
Yeah.
Dom, you said I knew that she liked someone else.
Mm-hmm.
more than me and you just didn't care about it. I ain't gonna quote you because I don't use that kind of language in public, but we know what you said.
Yeah.
I'm curious right there because, and I'll give you some context so you feel safe enough to answer it the way that you want.
Yeah.
There is a concern in the Black community, and I'm not saying it's specific to us. It's just the people that I study and work with. So I'm talking about us.
Yeah.
Where men, for whatever reason, are losing the momentum of competition, particularly on the dating market.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I admired about you, I don't remember everything that you said now, it's been weeks, but I remember the admiration because you didn't let the fact that somebody else was interested in her,
right,
or that she had a connection herself, that she felt it, and maybe even more. You didn't let that be the reason that you didn't show up and be who Dom was. And there's so many men. And if we go to social media, oh my God, it's boundless. We're like, well, if she don't want me, bumper, right? Like, I'm not going to compete. I'm not going to. And I love that you didn't carry that energy then. But now listening to you, because you was like, I don't give a, like, it's good. I'm going to be Dom. Like, you like reminded me of it all over. So I have two questions for you in that.
Go for it.
One, do you sense that as a man? Like, do you feel like, yeah, men ain't really out here competing like with their chest, like how like the men do with their male nature on the dating market? And then two, do you believe that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can do one at a time. Go ahead.
Because it's just the way my memory works. So the first question you asked, you said, do I feel like men are what again? I'm sorry.
Are they losing, or is there some loss of that like male natured competition, at least within the dating market?
Well, I can't speak for men in general.
Sure.
But for me, I just know I don't have any competition. It's because of my goals as a man is to be my best self. And within being my best self, I feel like I'm going to get what God has for me. And so for me, like whatever that ends up being, I'm content with that. So like in reality, it's competition for some. But that's not my approach. My approach is just being my authentic self and being secure about the results of what that yields. And so that's why for me it's like let's say if it's dating wise, like I don't take it as a loss. And plus I'm an asset at this point. I genuinely feel as if I'm an asset. I know what I bring to people's lives. I know how much I help people make money. I help people get exposure. I help a lot of Black people. I help white people. So for me, when you view yourself as an asset, you don't really have to compete because you just know what you bring to the table, and you know that there's a market for people who are going to appreciate that. So let's just say her having more interest in another gentleman, like when like if I holler at a woman when I'm out and she tell me no, in my mind I don't act like I be like, hey, it's all good, but in my mind I'm like, like I'm laughing at you because not that I think I'm better than anybody. I don't, but I know for a fact that there's a chance that I can make life easier for you versus trying to make it harder. And so I do view myself as an asset. So I don't really be tripping when something may appear as some neglect or being turned down, because it's like you turning down, like you tripping, really. You know what I'm saying? So
there's competition in that.
Well, I see how it could be spent as competition. And I 100% get what you're saying, but like me being competitive is just me trying to be myself or being my best self. And
I see how you're putting it. Right. There's still a competitive nature to it, but you're saying I'm less inclined to worry about other men and I'm more focused on my
It's
higher
real.
self and and potentially what a woman could benefit from in knowing you. And so even when she passes you over, you like, oh, that's your loss, man.
Yeah, and not that I felt like that about her. I mean, because like for me, I genuinely cared about the people that was on the process. So I was on the process. I was kind of like the odd man out to some extent, because I'm looking at everybody connect, and you know, I didn't hop into the show and me and somebody were just locked in from day one. Like I kind of was like connections for some women and some women I wasn't. It was like, but I kind of was rooting for people too. I'm kind of like, okay, they kind of do look cute, like So for me, it was like I'm rooting for people, even though I didn't see it in certain situations.
That makes sense. I'm gonna do two now. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. I think I know what you're already gonna say based on that answer, but I still want you to answer. Do you believe, and this is specific to Vanessa,
Uh-huh.
so when you realize, she kind of into somebody a little bit more than me, did that translate as some deflation of pursuit of her?
No,
Okay.
no, it didn't. Well, maybe it did. Maybe it did subconsciously, and
Talk to me.
yeah, maybe it did subconsciously. But like, you got to think like we had only met maybe once, and then I had left the process for a little while, and so like people were able to build a little bit of momentum while I was gone. I popped back up, and like I didn't know her well enough to be deflated, because the only thing I knew about her after a week and a half is that she has a very dope spirit. She seems like an authentic person. Like, so I only knew like snippets of her. So I didn't really know enough about her to feel deflated. But not to get too far ahead of myself. I I feel like me and Vanessa's the most of my fondness, even though I had fondness of her during this experience, but it was a little bit after the experience where I was like, oh shit, like it turned from she's cool. It turned from she's cool, then after the experience, it turned into damn, like she caught me off guard being, so like it changed. Like, so it wasn't like she even said something about my pursuit on the show. She was like, I want you to apply more pressure. She specifically told me that. And I was like, oh, okay, bet. But like, so I didn't really pursue anybody on the show. And not that they weren't worthy of pursuing. I just kind of like, I got lost in the shuffle. I was halfway there, halfway wasn't. But my fondness of her, it only increased over time, and the show was only a couple of weeks, you know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody's meant to fall in love in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an expedited situation where you're not even able to have natural conversation. You know what I'm saying? So like, we're being prompted as far as what we need to be talking about. Like, me and her connected more when we were able to kind of move at our own pace.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for entertaining me. So my next question, and Vanessa, we'll start with you. So the reunion announcement seemed to take everybody by surprise. I would like to know from both of you, but Vanessa, I'll start with you. Why do you think that's the case? Why were people surprised?
I'm not really sure why they were surprised, because I feel like I consistently said that I was interested in Dom. Now, I met Chaz earlier, so I was interested in Chaz. Then I meet Dom. And so now I'm like, okay, these are the two people. I kind of took to them upon meeting in the same way. So yeah, like there were little slick comments, and I remember in the lounge prior to him leaving, it was like we had to figure out who was gonna go, and it was like someone came to me after like, are you sure you like him? Like, because it was between my person and their person, right? And so it was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I feel like I spent time saying that this was my connection, but it's not showing up on TV, and I'm not getting dates, and no one's fostering the connection, but I'm saying I'm interested in this person. And so I don't know, I guess by that time I mean, a lot of time had passed, and we're sitting there, and I'm not keeping up. Again, Like we went from being on a TV show to going back to regular life. Now it hasn't aired yet, but we're just living our lives. I don't feel inclined to pick up the phone and be like, oh, I just spent some time with Dominique, or you know what I mean? It's like it's nobody's business at that point. So for it to come up and everybody to be surprised, I'm really not sure. It's not inconsistent with what I was saying and what I'd said the entire time. But I also don't think that it is unusual to be interested in two people, especially if you're dating multiple people and you're on a dating show dating multiple people. So because I wasn't exclusive with anyone, you know, I can have affection for whoever I want to have affection for, really. But these are the two people that I consistently said I was interested in. So, yeah, I don't know where the surprise came from. I guess because we didn't send out a memo.
Yeah. and vice versa. Like, I was pretty consistent in the two women that I had in my top. And I was consistent pretty much throughout the process. And but I do think that I think I started off strong on the show. I think I piqued interest. But like interest and connection are two different things. And, you know, like I could be interested in somebody, but that doesn't make it a connection. You know, I think to have a connection, you have two people being interested in action on top of that. And for the fact that I didn't really build any strong momentum with any other woman outside of Vanessa than one, the women who were left, I hadn't necessarily pursued them. I had maybe a couple texts, a couple phone conversations, but I pretty much knew quite early that it wasn't. I probably wasn't going to go in, you know. So you know, I only if I would have been in it to play the game, you know, which I know how to do, I would have been entertaining everybody, you know. And but nah, I kind of dialed into what the two women who I could see something, you know, with. I kind of just left it at that, and so when she was having those conversations, with women who I didn't have much of a rapport with. So they were surprised, like, y'all have anything, because I hadn't even talked to him. He never called me.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of people in the comments are saying that the story wasn't told in front of the camera. That's why they were surprised.
Yeah.
You didn't have much screen time together, blah, blah, blah. So that
was intentional, though. And that was intentional because, you know, it was so funny. Like, there were multiple moments that they would have had to show. But I think if they would have shown that, it would have made it harder to justify my presence on a show, you know, because in reality, this is entertainment. They kept LaRon and shit. You know, LaRon was better for TV than me. You know what I'm saying? He's great for TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so like, you know, they kept him, even though that we were kind of in similar situations around the time, you know, they went to the trip. You know, just not being no one's main connection. Like me nor him was, but he's definitely better for television than me. But yeah, one moment I can think about that they cut out, which I expected to see. You remember when we were at the pajama party, and Rashina had asked me, who do I think was the sexiest woman in the room? So this is one of the questions before Jonathan picked up Alexis. And I remember Rashina asking me that, and I said Vanessa. And it was hard for me to say that at the time because, you know, although I knew it to be true and I had to keep it real, I knew that was around the time I had found out that like Vanessa and Chaz were kind of like, quote unquote, like had some momentum. So I went ahead and kept it real anyway and said Vanessa. And that was one of the few questions. We may have had 5 questions. That was probably the only one of. They may have deleted 2 questions out of the 7. And when I said Vanessa's name, like Vanessa, I just seen a look on her face, you know, like, and I like to compare it to a hot Hershey, you know, like she melted, you know, like a Hershey's Kisses in your back pocket that may sit on, like she turned into one of them. And I'm like, damn, okay, I ain't know my words had that type of effect. Like, but I remember that. Yeah, I heard you. And you got to peel it off, your fingers get nasty. So I just knew that was going to be on TV. I knew it was going to be on TV. I'm looking like, okay. Then when they didn't show it, I'm like, oh, okay. They just don't want to. They just trying to X me. Okay, it's cool. And I knew I wasn't really going to be on the show after we went to the reunion. and they didn't bring me up to the couch for nothing. They only went over like contention.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sitting back like, damn, I should have argued with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, because I know how to argue. But they had, I'm sitting there just looking like, damn, then they brought me up for the group chat shit. I'm like, man, I probably had 5 texts in this group chat. And I'm like, okay, y'all just want to go over the drama. So at that point, I got the idea of like, I'm not going to be on the show that much. It's okay.
Dom, have you given any more hot Hershey moments?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You are a character. All right, next question. Are there any lessons that you have learned either from one another or the show in general? I would love to hear from one another because we've heard the show, you know, for quite some time, but pick your choice that you can share with us. Vanessa, I'll start with you. Any lessons you've learned from one another or the show in general that you are open to sharing with us?
Okay, so on the topic again of non-possessive love, I feel like I've learned a lot from Dom about that in the way that, and he kind of described it a little bit when he was speaking earlier, but about handling people. And so I will say that Dom, like, you can't leave Dom without feeling like he's poured into you in some sort of way, whether it's like, I don't know, like food or a word. He gonna leave you with a nugget to think about, or it's just, he always pours in. And I learned from interacting with Dom that like that's the way you have to show up for people. You leave them better than you found them. And he does that, I think, very consistently anytime we see each other, even without the expectation of the next time that we'll see each other. Like, he's very present and in the moment, and he just cares so well, like, for me and for other people. I'm not just speaking for me, but since I was working on that, and then since this person is not, like, even on the show, not exclusively my person, like, the time that we have together is just so rich, and it has helped me, I think, to be a better, or just at least pushed me to be a better lover toward other people in my quest for non-possessive love. And I was like reading this meme the other day, and this girl was actually talking about like a relationship she was in that went awry. I don't know. I guess it was a guy who was like terrible to her. But initially, before she realized that he was lying and dishonest, she had beautiful moments with him. And she was like, after she found out more about who he was, even in her hurt, she still couldn't take away that she had some really good experiences with this person. And she says, sometimes we just have to accept that we've had, you know, amazing moments with bad people. And that made me think, because I think I would add to that, sometimes we've had amazing moments with great people too, good and bad people. And I think that is what we are supposed to hold on to, even if something is for a season or for a time. And I think that the most important part for me is, like, you know, feeling like you need to show up if you get to a certain point of relationship. Like, if we get here, then you're going to get the best of me. And I feel like I've learned from Dominique to show up with the best of yourself when you have the time to do so. Because I don't know, like, people die, they move, they have a change of heart. So many circumstances can take you from that. So I would just say that he has taught me to be a more loving person and a more intentional person and a more appreciative person for the moments that we have with other people.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, I hope that made sense.
Oh yeah, the comments are going off. They love what you had to say. The non-possessive love sounds like bell hooks. Yeah, they love that. All right, Dom, you want to chime in? A lesson you've learned either from the show or each other?
So I would say from her, patience. You know, just because you know, we all kind of categorize people based upon like our foundation or our experiences. So never have I met a person, because Vanessa, like throughout the show, and I tell her this, so I don't feel uncomfortable sharing this. Like Vanessa to me was uptight, like she was like a calf muscle that ain't been used, like an unused calf muscle. And like for me, like, and I know y'all went through coaching and all this. She would send me these long ass text messages. At the time, she don't know I don't like to read that much. You know what I'm saying? So she sent me these long ass text messages. I think she sent it to me and Chaz. And I think Chaz actually read it and responded. I read it like, man, I'm not responding to this shit. In the morning, I'm waking up to these long ass text messages, and that shit was irritating me. You know what I'm saying? So like, in hindsight, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm just like, but I didn't put her in a box, but I would just like, what all of these books you've read and the coaching you've been through, like, it's not, I get it, but it felt like she was like, I don't know, she felt like a little tight to me. And then throughout the process, after the process, I really got to see her bloom. And like, I had never saw somebody in my life go from this to this. And a lot of the shit that she was telling me she would never do, she was okay with doing after she felt safe to do it. And I'm sitting there like, you've been lying. You know what I'm saying? Because you talking about you ain't gonna do this, you ain't gonna do that. I'm just like, okay, but in reality, she just didn't even know that she was capable of certain things, because she may not have had a lot of times being in certain spaces of how she felt. And like, she turned into like, because like for me, I'm all for having boundaries. I believe boundaries are important, but at the same time, like, I think compromise, and you don't want to compromise your hard boundaries, but you got to have some level of compromise somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? Or else, like, we can't go, like, boundaries mean you can't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? If you do it too much, because like, it's like, just like your boundaries keep you in a certain little circle. So I had never seen, I can't remember in my life, I've never seen somebody bloom in such a short amount of time. And,
well, I also agree. Like I was pretty rigid. And I think in reflecting on how the show went, I came to that. But we are still in a space where there's opportunity to show up different. And so because I had that time and because I was taking that feedback and reflecting on, like you say, allow your spirit to receive what is it? Allow yourself to receive what your spirit truly desires. Or what, and so having this checklist that I've referenced before, like about how I should act or how I should react or what I will do and what I won't do, and having, and it kept me very, very by the books, right? But I realized I wasn't open to actually receiving what my heart desired, and after the process, I realized in some way I was shooting myself in the foot, and I didn't want to continue. Yeah, I didn't want to continue doing that in dating. And so I had an opportunity, because he saved space for me, that I could still show up, and we are very vocal. Like, we talk all the time, like, about where we are and what we're working on, and, what we're trying to improve and the shortcomings, and work with me, and so I'm glad I've had that space, because it's something that I can say that since the show filmed, I've worked on. And I know, like, I know that I'm not a complete bore. I just don't have everything for everyone. But, being a little more flexible, because I don't want somebody to count me out based on how uptight I am. I feel like I have a better understanding, a better gauge of how that needs to look moving forward.
Yeah.
Dom, I love what you said. Well, thanks for keeping it real, by the way. And for not kind of like abusing that phrase. But I love what you said about, I would get these long text messages and she doesn't know, like, I don't even like to read like that. Because how can I put this? There are things that I feel like men and women should and can learn about each other in a general sense.
Yeah.
And then you take the dating journey to understand what that looks like on this specific man, this specific woman, and date them to know the things that are true about them that maybe are not general. But you got to bring something, you know, to the dating scene. And so, I mean, one of the things I was telling Vanessa is like, listen, you are over communicating in text messages. I think for anybody, but particularly men. And then if there's a man who doesn't even like to read or has a hard time processing so much going on at one time, you know, you're gonna lose them. And so, but I always say, this is my expert opinion. You still need to sample what you would like to do or how you are and get feedback from the people you are dealing with. Let them tell you and find a way to fuse like my expertise and your feedback. And so when we learned, when I'm saying we, I'm being nice, when Vanessa learned that the text messages were too much, she was like, I need to dial up my text messages. And so I love this because we have to hear the other person and make those considerations. And so I know one thing that Vanessa is very vocal about now is like learning what the other gender wants in order to account for that, right? And you can tell me how that lands on men, but I'll speak for my experience in coaching women. It's almost like, well, you know, I just want to be me, or I don't have to do things for the male gaze, or I don't have to. And I mean, sure, no one is saying that. However, if you want to attract a certain person or a certain kind of person or one half of the population, then there are certain things that you need to understand. This is what they find desirable. And as you navigate your dating journey and as you navigate your womanhood journey, you become what you need to be and what you would like to be to attract what you would want to attract. I try to make it synonymous to a job, right? Well, if this job told you needed to have a master's to apply to it, you'll just get a master's. Like no one says, well, I just want the job to accept me for me and I got a GED and I just want, right? So obviously there's wisdom there. You don't let anybody. I love this thing that Esther Perel says. She's like, you can't try to change salient features of people's personality. Like that's who they are. Absolutely. But there are ways of being that we can grow, expand our capacity, mature greater in, and it takes another person reflecting back to you for you to have awareness of that and for space to be made for you to start to tend to that while you're getting, you know, some feedback loop. So I love that you just felt like, I'm just going to tell her, I'm not going to read all of this. And I love that her position to that was, okay, I got to start shortening these messages or figuring out how to say what I need to say in a more condensed way. And, at least sometimes, because sometimes she would like send me a message and I'd be like, girl, this is still too long. And she would send it and be like, is this better? Is this better? And I'm like,
I woke up to one. I woke up to, and this is even on the process, which I've probably woken up to a few by now, but I woke up to a message that was like, it was like a dissertation, you know, something like something you prepare for. You about to graduate, you better get your PhD. And I'm like, look, you know, like I feel like certain conversations be for the phone or in person. And that's, you know, like I don't like talking about deep stuff via text because, you know, I don't know, you know, but like she sent me the first long text. And I think it's part of me maybe projecting because I've associated, I don't know, I've had long texts before and I ain't never liked them. It's never good. It's never how dope you are, you know. It's always
tell the truth.
You know, I'm listening though, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, but now like I said, that I've never seen a person like turn into, because I was wrong about her, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like, for instance, like when I left the show, I already liked her. I liked her a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought she was dope. And one of the things I liked about her too on the show was like I could tell she genuinely cared about people. And that's something that's mandatory for anyone who I'm rocking with, because it's like you know, I do have social ambition. You know what I'm saying? And like for people who don't have compassion or who don't care about people or who are unaccountable, it's hard to have social ambition when someone don't care about people. So that's extremely important. So I do feel like while she was on the show, a lot of her social ambition was just how she's showing up for women. And I think like part of our experience, we've kind of helped level that out with each other. Not just for her, but yeah, I'll shut up.
Oh no, that was good. I actually want to respond. Someone said it's important to be yourself regardless. If he or she doesn't find it desirable, are you expected to morph? Absolutely not. And this is exactly the energy that I'm talking about. No one is saying morph, right? We're saying if you want to have something meaningful with Dom, communicating it in long text messages, particularly when it's not even positive, is probably not the way to go. Is Vanessa morphing herself to be considerate of long text messages? No, she's just making considerations and concessions for the partner that she has or the connection that she has. That is going to be a requirement if you want relationships. So if your mind is, I'm just going to be me, and of course, be yourself. Obviously, bring your authenticity. But within my authenticity, I'm going to make no concessions or considerations for the other person. My question always to a person who has that position is, well, do you really want to be in a relationship? Because to work with people, to do people work in any capacity, considerations and concessions have to be made in order for you all to get along and live in harmony. And isn't that the point? Like, I don't want to be fussing and fighting and arguing. I want to have harmony. So it's like, what concessions need to be made for that to happen? And it is not a key feature of Vanessa's personality to just send shorter text messages. Actually, I'll let her tell her story if she wants to. But over time in doing that, one thing that she said to me is, I've actually learned how to be more concise with what I need to say. And it has developed a different level of critical thought and a different level of consideration for the other person, because every single thing that I'm feeling doesn't have to be described in the text message. I can take time to process some of it and condense it down so that the meat is what's really there. Yeah. Share about that. Go ahead.
Oh, just, okay. I'm working on it. It's just that I think I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. But I mean, it's just modes of communication. So if I can write it out and then I can sit with it and then I can condense it down, right? And then I can communicate that. It's just practice. And I think it's work that I'm willing to do. So feedback is really a blessing. Feedback is a blessing. And I don't feel like I'm changing myself, but like, it's just a process of like translating it. And so I'm working on it though. I still send them when I can't. If I can't do nothing with it, I just can't do nothing with it. I read the message and then we could talk out the rest. But yeah, the important part there is just the consideration for that other person and what they need and how long they gonna put up with it before they start to resent you, or and it could be so simple, So
I think another thing too is it's like you like to think before you speak in some cases. And text messages give you the ability to think before you speak, because like if somebody hits you with something good, now you can wait 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, but like when you're having a conversation, you got to be instinctive, you got to be prepared, you got to be on the fly. You know what I'm saying? So like in having this conversation with y'all, I think I talked to Nessa earlier, and she was talking about how y'all had like prepared for the conversation. I'm like, damn, they better whip my ass on this show. I'm about to embarrass myself.
You don't do that.
Yeah, but not intentionally. But like, I just like, I don't. My preparation, I don't know. I'm kind of more of this let things flow in some cases. So I just had to trust that. Okay, I got to come up and stand up for Black people, Black men.
Did you trust me, Dom? You've been seeing me for 12 weeks. You knew I wasn't going to tell you to shred.
Well, I've never seen anyone like another man on the show.
Oh, so, I see.
I know you guys have a relationship already, so I didn't think y'all were going to attack me, but I just felt like I knew like you guys are very prepared, and you guys have talking points. You guys don't just hop into the live and like, hey, what we doing today? And like so I was like maybe like 16% insecure about that.
Do you feel better now?
I feel much better.
Oh, that makes me happy. Okay. So you know the question that everybody wants an answer to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go first with this one since you gave the preface, and I know I want people to stay within the bounds of your request and your respect.
Yep.
What does Dom and Vanessa look like today?
I would say none of their business. You know, and the reason why, the foundation of me saying what I'm saying is because you know, I've never had a public anything. I think the last time I went public with dating was I think it was MySpace. I think I put this girl as my top 2 or something. And I didn't like how that response was. I was like, what? It lasted for about a week. And I took a leap of faith by getting on this public platform and trying to find love and just whatever benefit that the show could have for me. But that's not really how I move. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lil Wayne, I apply what he said to life. And, real G's move in silence.
Like lasagna.
And that's like my mantra, you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm willing to talk about everything that happened on up until the reunion. But anything after that is nobody's business, in my personal opinion. That's not what I came here for. Initially, I really wanted to talk to y'all because I love you guys' talking points. I think y'all do a great job. Watching y'all has inspired me to want to get a coach. And I told Vanessa this, like, I need a coach too, because it's like, just because we sometimes struggle when we're emotionally invested in a situation. Sometimes it's a balance between your emotional investment and your common sense. And I just see value in having coaching, more so now, just watching y'all. Like, I love the report y'all got. I know y'all get like a little bit of backlash, and the Jenners is probably reaching out soon. But now I love what y'all got going on.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank you.
much for that. Vanessa, you want to answer the question?
Oh, I'm just gonna respect his wishes because, I think if nothing else, it doesn't really matter if, like, I think being in this space, maybe you being with us, like the people who are watching, like, we're solid. We're solid. Like, I honestly, like, he's a solid person. If you talk about, like, we're talking about what women want from men, and I feel like Dominique in a lot of ways demonstrates different things that I would want in a man, that I do want in a man. And so in that sense, I feel like I'm going to continue to soak that up as long as we have the opportunity to do that. This is what I want in my life. This is what I want more of. So, we're good. We're good. I don't think it would have came.
We're good.
If we
as far
weren't,
as love go, it's like, we have. I feel like we walked away with something that I feel like is more important than love. And love is a part of it for sure, but sustainability to me means more. Like, I've loved somebody for 3 months before.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, building a foundation and sustaining that, and having somebody who you genuinely feel like you're setting them up to be in your life, is kind of like what's most important to me. And yeah, like she knows. I've told her how I feel about it, and she told me the same. But like, that's not really that's not how I get down. Like, I've never posted my girlfriend. Like, this is kind of not, shit. I mean, if you go back and look further enough, you may see a shadow,
I'm done.
on a beach somewhere. You may see a shadow somewhere, but yeah, we yeah, you may see a shadow. You look hard enough.
I'm done. Okay, so before I close, I want to say, I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to respect the man's wishes. But I think you've made great distinction, right? Which is, when I allowed my dating life, or at least a portion of it, to be public, I'm willing to talk about those public scenes and events publicly.
Yeah.
but the part of my dating life that wasn't aired, right? I mean, you had so many people who thought that y'all's announcements was a surprise because the story did not air that way. And people in the comments have confirmed that. Oh, we were surprised because we didn't get that screen time.
That's production.
So you're saying, well, now that's private. Of course, I have people in the comments saying, so you go on a dating show and then, you know, call a special interview just to not tell us. I don't think y'all are hearing this, man. I don't think you are hearing that the public part that was made, the television, he's willing to talk about, and everything else he's not, which is consistent because y'all were surprised at the end because it wasn't on screen. And the not on screen connection is not what he is willing to talk to y'all about. So you're gonna have to be okay with that. People talk about boundaries all the time, but people have a hard time respecting someone's boundaries because they're not getting what they want to get out of it. You started the show that way so that there'd be no confusion. So I'm not upset that that's what you are saying now. And y'all got to be okay with somebody saying, I don't want to give that to you. I don't want you to know that. And you're just not going to know it because they don't want you to. And what can you do about it?
And I don't think people really care. Like, people care for entertainment value, but my personal life is not for entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
What happened on TV, you know, the little bit of entertainment I provided, which was very little. I hope people enjoyed that. But anything on top of that, my personal life is not for entertainment. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an Instagram person. I don't do, you know, that's not my speed. But you know, I do believe in lasagna.
I believe in lasagna. My mama used to tell me all the time, people only ask questions because they're curious or because they care. You got to figure out which one. And it completely resonated when you said, because they don't care. And you're right. Like, I can imagine that anybody who you don't know in real life would be asking that question of you because they actually care about your well-being. They care about your love life. They care about the progression and evolution that you're making. So I get that just the same. So before I'm trying to look at the comments and make sure there's nothing that I need to hit on before we close out.
We ain't gonna talk about no dating tips, you know, because that's kind of like, that was part of my motivation too, because it's like, I see the work that y'all do and I think it's very valuable and amazing. And I did mention a question, I think to Vanessa, to mention to you about like, just kind of finding a way to kind of bridge. One thing that being a part of this experience has shown me just about how much division, you know, it's elaborated on what I already knew was true, but the division amongst that we have internally as Black people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's part of my experience of sharing my story and going to these different platforms and talking was because I'm trying to bridge some of these gaps. You know, it's something I'm very passionate about. So like, I saw that it was named Dominique and Vanessa's Connection, and I wanted to touch on that, but I also kind of wanted to kind of help, you know, or have maybe people don't give a damn about that, you know what I'm saying? And that's okay, but like I kind of would maybe have a couple of minutes just to talk about like, you know, what is it that women are looking for from men, reasonably looking for? What do y'all want from us that's reasonable? And like, what are men asking for? That's within reason for women.
I love that, Tom. I was going to close there, but thank you for getting us straight. I want to use that as an opportunity to call on people who are watching. So obviously, men, put what you are looking for in a woman. Women, put what you are looking for in men. And together, Vanessa, Dom, and I will chat it out. I'll coach to something if I feel like I need to. I realize these are general statements. So we're just talking about, generally speaking, not your individual or specific need as a person, but just roundabout. And then we will talk it out. So Vanessa, what do men desire in women? What do women desire in men? We want to have that conversation. So I'm asking them to put it in the chat, and then I think I'll have you start, Vanessa.
Okay, because I got a list.
Yeah.
I got a list. I got a list on the wall, but I did actually, after Dominique and I had this conversation, and I asked my friends. So I have this list. I'm just going to read it off. One says truthfulness, honesty, trustworthy, generosity, discipline and integrity, mental and emotional stability and maturity and intelligence. A man who produces consideration and understanding when things aren't flowing as usual, respect of our bodies and our homes, communication that's direct, honest, respectful, and in-depth.
Okay.
Like the long text messages?
I mean, we gotta get under we gotta get a little bit under the surface sometimes, okay? Leadership, but according to strengths between men and women. Security, safety, coverage, accountability, and self-awareness.
Okay.
Support, emotional, financial, mental, and autonomy. I added that because that's important to me. As a modern woman.
So, quick question. We have all these conversations, but sounds like God. But my question would be to you: what is honesty? You know what I'm saying? Because like for me, I looked up the definition of what a liar is, and a liar is somebody who lies. It didn't say how much. So by definition, a liar is probably 99 to 99.9% of the population, because most people situationally lie. So like there's when you say honesty, that's like we say these things, but like the possibility, like does that mean like so say if you date, like you're gonna get lied to. I'm gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying, at some point about something. Because that's the reality of life. You're gonna lie to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, everybody lies in my opinion. I could probably count on one finger, maybe two, but probably one, the amount of people who I know who've never lied to me, that I've been knowing for a significant amount of time. Even if it's as small as people don't want to count, you look nice today, but you motherfuckers be lying. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? So what does honesty mean to you? Does honesty mean that you're somebody can't lie to you sometimes?
I feel like this is kind of like a continuous conversation, and what one reason is like this process, the show airing, listening to people like tell, and knowing that 20 people were in this process, in the same process, having 20 different versions of the same experience. It's like sometimes I'm listening to other people's interviews, and I'm like, I'm not calling nobody a liar, right? But your truth is based on your perception, your experience. Your opinion might be included in it. And so honesty is tricky. And then sometimes it's brutal. You're being honest about how you feel. Is it factual? Does that, so I'm kind of I'm kind of still sorting through this, because I was called a liar online, and I don't like to think of myself as a liar, but in all honesty, I have lied. So it's like, damn, I don't like that. Maybe I think the language is harsh, and I think honesty, when I'm expecting honesty in a relationship, I actually want that, but I want a level of transparency too. Like I don't always want to have to ask for you to tell me what I'm trying to know, but I would just like I would like a man to be truthful. Like I would like a man to be truthful, and not in a brutal way, not weaponizing honesty either. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And the reason why I ask these questions is because I feel like we have what we want. We have what we want, and we also have like realistic expectations. That I think the more realistic our expectations are of each other as genders, the more we can appreciate one another. Because I feel like in some cases, what is wanted of some of us, the market isn't yielding that. So something has to give. Either more men need to become Jesus, or more women may need to realize that we are human beings and the nature of a man. And that's applicable to me too, because I think that the more and more realistic expectations I have of women, the more I'm pleased with them, the more I trust them. Like if your trust means that you can never be lied to, then you will never trust anybody, because I think it's more so it's deeper than just a lie. Because like somebody could lie to you one day, but be honest for the next 2 years. Does that make that person a liar? Like, so I think we got to have more realistic expectations of each other. And I'm speaking for myself, because I've had some extremely unrealistic expectations. And just to name one, there was a time of my life where no one told me about PMSing. There were certain times of the month when the young lady that I may have been dating at that time in my 20s, she may be depressed or maybe a little snippy with me. And I had absolutely no grace for that. I was more so like, okay, what I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you tripping? You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't taught, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us aren't taught how to deal with women, and a lot of women aren't taught on how to deal with men. So like, I just think we got to start talking about, like, yeah, you want this, but what is the market? What does the market have available? You know what I'm saying? Because, I feel like you approach me with ultimate grace, and, I think we have grace for each other, but shit, I'm probably about 32% of all that shit you just named.
And I'm saying, and I polled like hella people,
Yeah.
and that a portion of that is my list, and I don't think that we're looking for this in one person in totality, sure. But in general, like, what are you looking for? Yeah. I do want to read this because I asked this question of my women friends, but there's one of my guy friends that I asked as well, and he responded, and I think it speaks to what you just said, so I'm going to try to read it quickly. He says, I'm a simple man. All I truly want from my partner is open and honest communication. As much as we tend to think that we're always ourselves, we put on facades in public that aren't always a true reflection of who we are and what we feel and what we think. I want to be able to come home to a loving environment where I don't have to be anything other than myself. However, I don't think we truly know exactly what is best for us, which is why we say that what we want, and we still choose something other than that. I know for a fact that I've met women throughout my life that would give me their all, but it just don't feel like the right situation. So I can list the things I would like in a woman, but if I got exactly that, would I even recognize it or even want it at that point? I would like to say that I would, but people tend to get in their own way.
Hold on. So you asked him one question and he gave you.
So he gave all of that.
Some of us, he's like a writer too, though. Like,
he's a who? A writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to interject here for just a second, because the comments are going bananas, and we're losing people by the droves with you reading. So I want to come in.
Okay, I'm done.
It's okay. Because Dom, I think you posed this as, let's just kind of have a conversation about some of dating tips that we can give people. In terms of like what people are looking for on this side. And you started by like, I really just want to have a conversation about what's realistic, and like, I guess kind of tempering expectations so that people can get what they want to a degree, but also within a reality, right? Because you're like, okay, let's talk about honesty. How realistic is that? And all those things. One of my favorite books on marriage, it's called Marriage Be Hard by Kevin and Melissa Fredericks. And there's this sentence that I just love. Communication is a team sport in which all players are required to read from the same handbook. So when I think about the honesty, it's not that this person has never lied or will never lie. It's that we have an understanding that we are going to play by this handbook and that we don't violate that. So there are some women who will tell you, I don't care if it's not the truth. Just tell me I'm skinny. And if that's y'all's playbook, then listen, make her feel like she is size 4, even though she is 14, if that's what she wants. Or there are some women who will tell you, I want it, even if you think it's going to hurt my feelings. And so if that's the playbook that y'all are going by, then adhere and honor that. I don't think that anyone is saying be an unrealistic level of honesty that humans cannot deliver upon, right? But it's like based on what it is that we agree upon. And so you talked about Vanessa and I kind of preparing for some of our shows. It hasn't been like this play by play, right? It's been us just agreeing up to a playbook. And then when we get on here, because it happens naturally, conversations happen organically, people put things in the chat, and we take those journeys. But one thing we don't do is violate each other according to the handbook that we agreed we wouldn't do for a particular show. Some of those things have been ever present, and some of those things like, well, for this show, because based on whatever was seen, the recap before. So I want to interject that. But also, there is a difference between, okay, so there's honesty, there's transparency, and then there is vulnerability. I won't go through all of that. I don't want this to be a teaching lesson, but in terms of transparency, we're talking about an accountability to your motivation. And I think that's where a lot of women, I think that is why having that on their list is there. It's like, well, we don't always feel like the partner, the other person, the guy, is being accountable to the motivation. And you seem to have some level of awareness with it at the beginning of the show. And you were like, I really want to temper my words because I know my words can create expectations, right? But because you know that, you are shielding a woman away from creating an expectation that she now wants out of you by managing your own motivation. So in some way, you may not be saying, hey, I'm being transparent, but you are engaging with her in a transparent way in order to make sure that the motivation that is behind you and what it is that you're doing will match what she experienced with you, thereby creating the expectation. I think that's why a lot of women have it on their list. Not that they expect you to be the truth teller that Jesus was, if you will. How do you respond?
Yeah, I mean, you may have I think you're right. But I do think that if you lie, if someone catches you in a lie, and not that this is my personal experience, you know what I'm saying, it's being real with you. I do think some people won't trust you if they catch you in a lie. Just one lie. So I think I think one thing I'm learning, I think is emotional intelligence is something that I'm learning, and just having reasonable expectations for human beings and women, and so I love what your friend said, but one thing I talk about, and I had to say this, but like some men like food men just want food. Like some dudes are that basic to where it's like I think you know you could go through this and that and becoming this and that, but like some niggas just want a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? So I think yes, the self-work is very important, but also just knowing what someone may want from you specifically, I think I don't know, it may yield different results. And I think a lot of men, for instance, you got a lot of men out here who make a whole bunch of money and who think that's all they need to get a woman, and that may attract a woman to you, but what's going to keep her there? You may have a woman go to the gym 8 times a week, but they may get me to you, but what's going to keep me there? And I think we just want us to have those conversations a little more. But
yeah, I love that. Funny enough, right before I hopped on with you and Vanessa, I was coaching my Tuesday group, and I explained lying. I explained acts of dishonesty, and I was treating one woman, one of her relationship issues, but obviously this was a group session, so there was no one listening. So I had to teach her while also encouraging and guiding the group. And we spoke about the very nature of what you just said. Like, okay, how do you have a long-term relationship and make space for human error and make space for human flaw? Because people are not going to be perfect. And if you're telling me that you don't have any capacity for the sins of humans, natural errors and sins that people are going to commit, maybe not against you, and sometimes they will, but in being with you, and you are going to have some mind for it, some capacity for it. Obviously, you draw your lines, you have your boundaries. Certain things are just never okay. But if you make it seem like a person can't be themselves, including their faults and flaws, and some of those include white lies or whatever, then what are you saying? Like, do you even want a relationship? Because to do people work and to be around people, especially in a long-term way, you're gonna, it can't just be cake and it can't just be icing. You're gonna get crumbs too.
Yeah.
And so you have to build a capacity for that. And I think in the dating market, we're so busy saying, like, putting on a lens of what we don't want.
Right.
That nobody is actually communicating to the other person, well, this is what I do want. So I love how at the beginning, when I asked you the question, you led with what you like. You led with, I knew that Vanessa was an attraction for me because of all these things that you knew you wanted. And the time that you have to spend with yourself and spend actively engaged in dating to learn other women in a general sense. And then specifically, as you narrow in onto your choice, you have to put that work in to know that. And I can always tell when someone hasn't because they leave what they don't want. Well, what are you looking for? And they'll be like, well, I don't, he can't, she won't. And I'm like, I don't know that you've actually spent time learning what it is that you like and then letting that play out and actually dating real people who can give you feedback. Because if so, you would be leading with, this is what I like, this is what I know works for me, this is what makes me feel good, this is what looks good to me. And then it becomes easier to see it when it happens, because it's not so much don't. It's like, but what it is. And I think you narrated that perfectly when you were talking about Vanessa in the beginning.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you summarizing that because, like, part of me being on this experience, and I think Vanessa too, is giving people something to walk away with outside of the entertainment piece of it. And that's part of my purpose. And I've tried to make every conversation I've had with different platforms be somewhat purposeful to where people can walk away with something. And I think the way you just summed that up, was perfect.
Thanks, Dom. I like to think I'm good at
Y'all
what
have done a good job, like throughout the whole season. I've watched a lot of it. I stopped watching it live after I was getting on y'all nerves that time. Just because I was like, I was telling, I think I got nerves a little bit, and she was like, shit, you was getting on my nerves too. And a lot of platforms, I think people ask questions, but a lot of times the moderators, they don't always pay attention to the questions. They kind of get to them towards the end, if they do at all. And so, I apologize for interrupting y'all about 2 months ago.
Oh no, happy to have you. I'm very big on men feeling safe, like in my presence and things that I'm doing, and that there's a level of intimacy that is there just because we're Black people, and we can see each other like that. So I'm very grateful to you wanting to be in this space with us. It matters to me that I created an environment to the extent that you wanted to be a part of it all on your own and without any prep. Came here like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but you felt safe enough to, or 16%. So whatever that difference is, you felt safe enough to come here and know that like people were gonna treat you with some positive regard, and that we do respect Black men in our space. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Vanessa, anything to say before we close out?
I'm saying thank you too. Thank you, Dominique, for coming through.
You're very welcome.
Conversation.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.